Hi there, it's Judith and Desjardins in my kitchen. This is not the anti-cancer kitchen, this is the holiday kitchen, which is going to contain a lot of things I don't normally work with, but I am awaiting a visit from my son and my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter Callie, and tomorrow a visit with my daughter as well, all of us. And I'm making some old school things that they are familiar with. And one of the things I'm making today are French Canadian galettes. In my early life in Montreal, there was nothing more joyful than being in the kitchen of my belle-mère, Azilda, and at St. Julien, and having her teach me how to do all kinds of cost-saving things that the old-fashioned French Canadian families would have to do. We're talking about families that had many children and oftentimes a very low income. And so what she schooled me on, and this was very helpful to me, was how to use everything that nothing was for wasting. So today I'm making these galettes with the leftover pie crust dough that I have. I will show you what I'm making in a minute in my oven. But as for these galettes, you take all the leftover pieces and form them into a ball. Get a cutting board with some flour on the bottom, and I melted butter and put it on with this brush because the kind of butter we have these days does not melt very well. So I've already rolled it out with my, I can't tell you, probably 50-year-old rolling pin here, and I have put a layer of brown sugar. I've mixed regular sugar and ground cinnamon together, and I've sprinkled them all on top of my dough. And what I will be doing now is to roll it. This is essentially making like a cinnamon roll that will be one long tube. That will be put on the parchment paper, where I'm also not wasting space. I'm going to roast a nice yam on the other corner of the parchment pan. So I'm rolling all of this together, and you see, because of the flour sprinkled on there, I don't have a problem with the crust sticking on the board. I'm going to add a little bit more brown sugar and the cinnamon sugar. As I said today, this is not my anti-cancer test kitchen. By and large, I don't use sugar for myself, very small amounts, but this is my family. And my children were raised on these galettes. In fact, my daughter, as a young girl, when we lived in Phoenix, would learn this when she was about 5 years old. She learned how to make the galettes, and let's see, I'm wondering if I'm not remembering, I haven't made this for so long. I'm going to seal all the edges all the way around so it doesn't spill out on the parchment. and put that seal down on the parchment paper. So I'm going to grab my grabbing my parchment paper, and I'm going to slide this on there. And I think I'm going to just leave it in one piece, but as I recall, I think I'm supposed to cut little portions in here. And in fact, I think I'm going to melt some more butter and put that over the top. So let me do that very quickly. Whenever I make something from Montreal, it gives me a very nostalgic, lovely feeling. My beaux-parents were so loving and kind to me, and really, my belle-mère taught me how to do things that my mother never did, and so it was a great assist to me as a young mother to know how to do these things. I'm melting my butter really quick behind the scenes here. I don't know what's going on outside. Oh, they're doing the holiday parade again, right out my window. I want to catch this if I can. All the firemen and policemen drive by. Oh, this is so cool. You can't see them very well, but they did this earlier today, and it's always very fun. They decorate their vehicles, and they have their family members with them. So I think I've melted my butter enough to put it on the outside and make these really yummy. This will be a nice treat that's ready for my kids when they pull up from San Diego. And I have taught my granddaughter and my grandson how to make galettes as well, so we're passing the family tradition. Okay, and I'm going to spoon on a little bit more of the cinnamon sugar. And the brown sugar, just to make it totally tasty. Definitely not anti-cancer fair, but this is the holiday, and so I'm just enjoying doing old family traditions for my kids. I'm now scrubbing up the potato, the yam, to get that baking at the same time. Another energy-saving thing, as long as you've got a pan, you might as well use it for another purpose as well. I think I'm going to separate them so the yam doesn't ooze onto my galette. So I'm going to turn around here and show you putting it in my oven, and then I will also show you what's in there. So opening the door. Whoa. I'm going to give you a quick peek at this Mexican quiche. I don't want to keep the door open too long. I will tell you what goes into that. I made one yesterday and made a little mistake, so I'm making a second one today. But it is doing well. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick description of how to make a Mexican quiche. I'm going to get the box. These Pillsbury pie crust are very easy to work with because it gives you two crusts that are rolled in parchment, and you just simply leave them out for 15 minutes at room temperature and then open them. I will also be putting up on my website, my LinkedIn website, the pictures, the step-by-step of making the crust. So basically you take any size of a pan. I took a pretty long rectangular pan, put in the two pie crust, cut off the pieces that were overlapping, and that's what I used for my galettes. So you put the pie crust down, then you put a large package of I put this Mexican cheese. Half of this package goes onto the bare pie crust. And then I took some diced green chilies, and you sprinkle that over the half cheese that you've spread out throughout. And then I took a little bit of salsa and dabbed that over some of the crust and cheese. And then in this bowl, I mixed up 6 eggs, which I whisked together, and 2 cups of this half and half, whisked all together. And then I added a half teaspoon of salt and 3/4 of a teaspoon of cumin, mixed that all up, and then poured it over the pie crust, cheese, chilies, till I covered the whole surface of the pan. And then I added on top the remainder half of the cheddar, Colby, Monterey Jack cheese on top, and simply put that into the oven. And I have been baking it at 350 for total time is going to be about an hour. Now the mistake I made yesterday, my quiche turned out perfectly fine. The eggs will rise in the pan as you're cooking them and come up to the level of the surrounding pie crust. But the mistake I made yesterday was when I took it out of the oven, I didn't let it fully cool off, and I put a sheet of aluminum foil on top, which made sort of a tent that made condensation in the top, the inside top of the aluminum foil, which then dripped down on my essentially quiche souffle and made it shrink to half of the size that I wanted, which was very disheartening. And I had my husband test the sample of that this morning, and he said it tasted fine. It was just like a quarter of an inch high rather than the usual 1 inch high. So I'm making a second one to go with the other two, and will not make that mistake today. I'll take one more quick open of my oven so you see how puffed up and beautiful. I can't really get in there. The quiche is. Gotta close the door. So I send my love and blessings to people around the world. I know it's a wonderful time of year for many, a very painful time for other people who have lost family members. I'm sending my love and blessings and prayers to all of you, and thank you for visiting today.